to see you. Thanks for being here, and thank you so much for your interest in our meditation teacher training program. And welcome to my home, quite literally. Hannah, my wife, and I, and son Nalu, we're living in a caravan at the moment, traveling around Australia, and at the moment we're parked up next to this beautiful lake under these gum trees, and so it's really nice to connect with you here and be able to work from here. How cool is that? The purpose of this video is to share with you just a little bit about what's behind the Fire and Water philosophy, and why we chose to call this training Fire and Water. I first had an experience of what fire and water means about 10 years ago when I was meditating in a cave in the Hawaiian island of Kauai at a secluded beach called Kolalau. But that's a story for another day. And when we start the training, we're going to go deep into everything that fire and water involves. But just to give you a little bit of initial insight, let's start with the origin and traditions of fire and water. So we first hear about fire and water, or Agni and Soma, in the Vedic texts, the Vedas. And what they say is that when fire and water, or Agni and Soma, are balanced, the state of meditation naturally emerges and arises. So now as I'm sitting here, it's springtime, and these gum trees, these melaleucas, are just starting to flower. And as I look at them, I realize there's nothing more natural than them coming into flower, into blossom. But the conditions have to be right, the season has to be right. They have to be exposed to adequate sunlight, have good nutrition, good soil, right amount of rainfall. The environment has to be right. When that happens, there's nothing more natural than them blossoming. And the blossoming of your consciousness into its full expression. There's nothing more natural than that. But first, the inner environment and the conditions have to be right. So working with fire and water is about balancing all the opposites and polarities within our human experience so we can find sweet equilibrium and homeostasis. Then, from that place, there's nothing more natural than, firstly, your consciousness blossoming into its full expression, and secondly, you living a life of tremendous peace and purpose. And that's the intention behind the fire and water training, to get you to that point. And of course, the bonus is you becoming a really, really great meditation teacher. But I think the best teachers lead by example. So we focus first on you, and then let everything come from that place. The other thing that we can talk about or introduce about fire and water at the moment is a little bit about the methodology in the training and how that even works with balancing opposites. What I understand through my own experience and through learning many different traditional practices and psychological practices is that any meditative tradition, any psychological approach, any effort to grow a human always requires two things. On one side, it's about peeling back, pulling apart, and eliminating what no longer works, and building up, growing, and creating what is in our best interest and what we want to create and move towards and work towards. So these two sides, these two opposites have to be balanced in order to grow a human into full expression. And the way we do this in the training is by breaking the training into 3 sections. So over the 10-month period, we break it into 3 sections. The first section is about preparation. What does it take to prepare your life, body, and mind? So there's the ability for you to concentrate. There's the ability for you to have enough energy and inner resourcefulness to be able to sit in meditation and get ready for what meditation brings. So the first bit of the training is all about preparation. The second and middle part of the training is what we call deconstruction. So what's deconstruction? Deconstruction is the disidentification from and the dismantling of any structures of thought and behavior that stand in the way of you naturally being the fullest expression of what you're born to be. There's an understanding in all meditative traditions that you are innately divine, that the essence of your being is benevolent, peaceful, and brilliant. And so what's in the way of that naturally coming through and blossoming just like these gum trees here? So these deconstructive practices give us the tools and resources to be able to break down the aspects of the personality and the mind that inhibit us from truly being free. When we go through this process of re-emerging into the source and the beingness that is us, we automatically get filled up with the nature of bliss. We automatically have realizations. We automatically generate insight. And the purpose of the third part of the training, or reconstruction, is to gather those insights, those realizations, what we experience in our heart, and bring them to life to make them true for us. So they're not passing states. It's not like, oh, this one time 2 years ago I had this great meditation and my life's been ordinary since. It's how do I capture those things and develop my life around them so they become who and what I am. Who and what I am. That's the reconstructive process, to reconstruct your whole sense of self based upon what's true for you in your own heart. You know, when we go through the process of life, our sense of self and our mind often gets created from the outside in, based upon the home environment, based upon the society that we're brought up in, based upon the school we're raised in. It gives us ideals and personalities, all based upon that. Meditation is a practice where we go through these processes of deconstruction and reconstruction so we can A, pull down and pull apart the things that are not authentically us. Even if they feel like us, not authentically us. And then reconstruction's about, okay, now that I've got a sense of who and what I am as a beautiful divine being, how do I bring that to life? How do I bring that to life? And not only because it feels good for me, but it becomes the way in which I serve the world through the power of my example. So the training's broken into these three parts: preparation, deconstruction, and reconstruction. And we can see that fire and water, or the balancing of opposites, shows up with this process of deconstructing and reconstructing. And that's something we work on probably for the rest of our human lives. So it's going to be a great honor to support you through this process. And once again, I really, really appreciate your interest. And thanks for watching this video. And the next video you can check out is all about the frequently asked questions in relation to the training. So we'll go into all of that next. Have a wonderful day and talk with you soon.